All right, everyone. We have a bit of a Panama Canal conundrum. People have been talking about this. The current plan, I support the basis of the plan, but the extension of the plan, I'm a little bit more iffy on. Forcing China out of the Panama Canal region and trying to partner more closely with the Panamanian government is in our self-interest. If we want free trade, we need to keep the trade lines open. Otherwise, you can't trade at all, free or otherwise. The U.S. Navy for, well, basically the last 50 years has been generally the guarantor of free trade around the world. We guard the Panama Canal, we've guarded shipping lanes across the Atlantic, the Pacific, and so forth. When I heard, though, that BlackRock was involved with the new Panama Canal deal that's potentially being struck, that made me a little bit uncomfortable because if you know anything about BlackRock, you'd be uncomfortable too. My proposal is quite simple. The United States asserts hegemony, says, look, we built these canal locks ourselves at great expense with a great loss of life. It has benefited your nation to the umpteenth level. So we're reestablishing control over the zone adjacent to the canal and building a couple of military bases. What harm is it? We're literally defending your country. You don't tax our vessels. We protect you. We keep the canal open. We make sure that nobody fucks with you. We assert the Monroe Doctrine. That's the ultimate goal, in my opinion. Having a third party mercenary group march in is maybe not completely ideal. That's not a terrible scenario because you're still reestablishing control over the canal itself. And that's fine, but it's not the most ideal scenario. We have the military might to march in at any time and just say, well, we built it. It's ours. What are you going to do about it? Is the Panamanian government, for example, going to appeal to Beijing and say, please help us, please go to war with the United States? That would be a good idea. That's not going to happen. That's not the way that diplomacy works. It's much more pragmatic than that. This is the problem that I've had with subsequent administrations. It's not even about the things that they want to do in many cases. It's about the pragmatism of how they're doing them. And that is definitely the case here. Now, I don't oppose the Trump administration in its Panamanian expansionism. I believe that we should own the canal that we ourselves built because we built it. It is ours. We should not be taxed when we put freight through the Panama Canal. That being said, though, you have to sweeten the deal. That's all you have to do. The Panamanian government right now is more of an ally of China than it is of the United States. There's a Chinese presence there actually as we speak. But what if we paid off your national debt, guaranteed your safety, expanded the canal further, making you even more doge? I don't think that they'll say no to such a deal. And for an economy as large as the United States, which is semi-reliant on the Panama Canal, by the way, it would make sense. It would be, in the long term, much more lucrative for us. So we say, look, we're passing a law. We now own the canal, but we'll do three things for you if you kick the Chinese government out. We will defend you. We will make sure that the canal stays open. We will expand the canal so that the tonnage that can go through it is 2 or 3 times what it is currently. Because we've got the technological capability to do so. We've got modern equipment now. The people that built the original Panama Canal, were they working with? Mainly shovels. I think we've got things that are a little bit more sophisticated now. So we'll increase that and defend you. And we will literally pay off 100% of your national debt. We'll absorb that cost ourselves just because we're going to make tens of billions of dollars a year just in tonnage. Probably more than that. It could be in the hundreds of billions range. I'm not 100% sure. It'll pay off itself within 2 or 3 years. It's a no-brainer how we should treat the situation. We need to get China out of the Americas, invoke the Monroe Doctrine, and treat these countries very kindly so that we can move our goods, we can ingratiate ourselves to them, it gives us better diplomatic leverage, and so forth. That's what I would recommend. As far as BlackRock being involved, I mean, you can. You can have a Merc group sort of occupy, I guess, the Panama Canal, but why? Why don't you have the U.S. Marines march in and go do training in the adjacent zone? And the Army Corps of Engineers, they can go in and they can expand the canal further. We already did an expansion, and it's definitely increased the U.S. economy, as well as the economy of Panama, I would know. But we can expand it further. We can double the canal size easily. It wouldn't even take that much money. When we're talking about tens of billions, I would find that a large amount of money. $10 billion would build a very, very large garden, for example. When we're talking about government budgets over a population of hundreds of millions of people, 10 billion becomes a drop in the bucket more than anything else. We're capable of doing this. Why don't we do great things anymore? And Trump, by the way, he does have the wisdom to try to do great things, which is more than we can say for most recent presidents. Mostly it was more, again, bowing your head solemnly, taking a step back, receding into the limelight, just being one of the great nations. Not the greatest nation, just one of the greats. That's basically what we had under Bush-Obama. We had certainly had it under Biden. Biden didn't even bow his head. He just ran off naked through the streets or something like that. What happens is that in past presidencies, there was always an attempt to make something great. Trump already has this in line with the Iowa State Fair, with regards to having kiosks for every single state in the union, having a bunch of statues made and stuff like that. He's got that in mind. And so I'm going to give him leeway on this particular issue and assume he's got a better goal in mind than simply sending mercs to Panama. I'm assuming he has bigger goals than that, and that's sort of the prelude. We have to wait to see what the crescendo is. But it's not 100% assured. One thing that we need to do, and I say this as someone who voted for Trump and generally supports him and the people around him. I like the administration. Insofar as I can like an administration at all, Trump gets easily passing grades. We need to keep his toes to the fire, though, because we need him to move in that positive direction. And he has to do A/B testing. He can't always do it himself. He's got too much goddamn work to do. So we need to make it clear what the American people actually want to be done. In the case of Panama, again, ingratiate the Panamanians. Don't abuse them. Ingratiate yourselves to them. Say, hey, here's a boatload of goddamn treasure. You don't have any national debt anymore. And we're building a new lock. And we're going to guarantee the safety of your country. Yeah, let's join a military alliance. Panama is an important country. It may be small. It may not have a high population. But that canal, do you realize how much money it has made our country? It's an insane amount of money. Adjusted for inflation, again, it's got to be in the hundreds of billions range at this point, the payoff. And we're already guarding the shipping lane, so there's no reason for us not to have a presence there. We should port in and kick the Chinese out and say, look, you go ahead and do whatever you want in Asia. This is our hemisphere. President Monroe already invoked his own doctrine long, long ago, and we're holding to it. We're going to keep with that tradition. Get out. That's about all. Peace out.